Angela.
Good morning, Sunyan.
TGIF.
Yes, TGIF.
All right. Let's start off with some COVID-19 related news. We know that next month, the vaccination program is going to begin. And as expected, the frontline medical workers will be the first to be inoculated and the general public later in the second half of this year.
Yes, the government has already secured COVID-19 vaccines to inoculate 56 million people, which will be actually more than enough to vaccinate the country's population of 52 million. The KDCA said a nationwide free vaccination program will begin in late February, starting with medical professionals treating COVID-19 patients at hospitals in the wider Seoul area. The initial vaccination will be carried out at the National Central Medical Center and then expanded nationwide.
Right. And the rollout is going to be, of course, gradual. I'm sure our listeners have heard in the news about the expected sort of order of people who will be inoculated. Remind us once again.
Yes, so during the first quarter, around mid-March, a total of around 440,000 people will receive their first doses of vaccines, including medical workers, patients at elderly care facilities, as well as high-risk healthcare workers and patients with severe symptoms. And then, starting in the second quarter, which will begin around May, seniors aged 65 or older, and people working at other high-risk facilities will get the shots. The number here estimated is to be around 9.4 million. And lastly, in the third quarter, starting around July, the vaccines will be provided to those suffering from chronic diseases and adults aged between 19 and 64, like us. And the government plan is to form herd immunity by this coming November. And actually, individuals cannot really choose the type of vaccines they want, and those who refuse to receive vaccines this time will be pushed back. There are some exemptions, so pregnant women and children under the age of 19 are excluded from this vaccination campaign. The authorities said this is to further monitor possible side effects. So excluding them, almost 70% of the population is expected to receive vaccine this year.
So it's going to be a huge operation, potentially a nightmare logistically. So there must be some centers installed nationwide to carry this out?
That's right. Additional vaccination centers will be installed regionally at Suncheonyang University Cheonan Hospital, Joseon University Hospital, Yangsan Busan University Hospital, and the government plans to keep expanding these places across the country. The government will also transparently provide vaccination-related information through the website at ncv.kdca.go.kr starting from the 1st of next month.
All right. Moving on to our second item, non-COVID-19 related for once. Last year, each person here in Korea, on average, every day, ate 1.5 bowls of rice per day. And this is the lowest it's been because rice consumption has been cutting in half since the 1990s.
Yeah, according to the data shown by Statistics Korea on the 28th, South Koreans' consumption of rice hit a record low in 2020, due mainly to changes in diet and eating habits. As the diet became westernized, the consumption of other grains such as bread and sweet potatoes increased rather than rice, and the decrease in meal services and various events due to coronavirus last year also had an impact. The amount of rice consumption per capita has been decreasing every year, and it was half cut in 30 years from 1990.
So what was the average before then, like the daily average of rice consumption?
Yes, knowing that it was half cut, we know it was definitely more than a bowl and a half. So last year, the average daily consumption of rice was 158 grams per person, down 2.5% from a year ago. And this was the lowest ever. So considering that a bowl of rice is about 100 grams, it's equivalent to eating about 1.5 bowl a day. In the 1970s, but however, the average daily consumption of rice per person was around 300-gram range, and this was declined steadily from 280.6 gram in 1997 to 199.6 gram in 2010 and fell below 160 gram for the first time last year.
So, Angela, how many bowls of rice did you have yesterday?
Yesterday, I actually had just one bowl.
Yeah.
So
Is that your average, you would think, like every day?
I do think so. I would try to have one bowl at least. Listening to my mom.
Good
but
girl.
yes, I do consume a lot of just pasta or bread.
Exactly, and sweet potatoes, right?
Right.
To try to keep those extra pounds off. So I think, a lot of people can probably empathize and sympathize with that. All right. So definitely, like we said, instead of rice, then we're eating a lot other grains.
Other grains, yeah. So as mentioned earlier, the annual consumption of grains other than rice was 8.7 kilogram per person, up 6.1% from a year ago. The share of rice in total grain consumption decreased by 0.8% to 87%, while the share of other grains increased by 0.8% to 13% of their grain consumption. This is the largest decline of rice consumption since the related statistics in 2011. Rice consumption in the food industry also decreased by 11.7% to around 436 million tons, and the largest decline in history.
Right. Hopefully, this downward trend won't continue for too long. I have noticed that the older I get, the more rice I do crave, at least one or two bowls per day. So hopefully, I'll be eating my share too. Moving on to our last item. We know maybe through some media reports last year, they were kind of covered by all the COVID-19 related news, but blood donation have been very important because blood donations have gone down generally last year. I think people were kind of afraid to donate their blood and so on. So there is a major shortage. And Facebook has announced that it's going to help out with a new feature for Korea.
Yes, cooperating with the Korean Red Cross Blood Services, also known as KRCBS, Facebook Korea decided to introduce the blood donation feature starting the 27th. Since Facebook first launched this feature in 2017, around 85 million users around the world have joined to participate in donating blood as of last December. There are currently 28 other countries that use this feature on Facebook, and Facebook plans to keep expanding these countries to increase the number of blood donors and encourage more people to donate blood.
So how can we sign up for this service?
So all Facebook users between the age of 18 and 65 will be able to start signing up to be blood donors and receive updates on blood requirements at the nearest blood centers or hospitals. Those centers in need of blood will also be able to post updates so donors nearby can receive notifications of the needs. If you're interested in registering, you can simply search Honhyar on Facebook Customer Center or click on the blood donation section on the sidebar and sign up for the reminder and notifications.
Right. This is a great way that social media platforms can actually make some positive changes in our society. Thank you very much for those updates, Angela. Have a good weekend. See you on Monday.
Good weekend. Thank you.